Hello, Chris Green here with the Flood Insurance Guru. Today we're talking about the flood map updates that are coming to San Diego County. We want to talk about the flood zones that are in this area, some of the areas that are going to be impacted, when these changes are going to be taking place. So that's what we want to talk a little bit about today. So let's talk about this. First of all, what flood zones are located within San Diego County? We're talking about flood zone A, flood zone AE, flood zone VE. VE is going to be your coastal area. AE is going to be really your highest risk area outside the coastal part. And then you've got A, which a lot of times it doesn't have a base flood elevation. So these are all flood zones that cause issues in San Diego County. So who's going to be impacted by these flood map updates? Well, you're going to have actually a lot of people that are going to be impacted. Close to 3,500 people are being moved from outside the non-mandatory area to inside. You've got over another 500 people that are being moved into a high-risk flood zone from a low risk. Areas that are going to be impacted big time are San Diego County, Del Mar. So these are all areas. So if you live in these areas and you've got questions about these flood maps that are coming up, or you get a letter from your mortgage company stating, hey, what do I do? Then listen to these three options that we're going to go through briefly for you. See if you qualify for all these options. So the three options are the National Flood Insurance Program. We're going to talk about two ways you can do that. Private flood insurance. And then we're going to talk about doing a letter of map amendment to get your flood zone changed. So let's talk about the National Flood Insurance Program policy first. You've got a standard policy which has got a 30-day wait. Well, if you're being moved from that non-mandatory to the mandatory, you qualify for the newly mapped rates. FEMA kind of gives you a break for the first year on here, but they also give you a break on the waiting period. There's only a one-day waiting period when it comes to newly mapped areas. So that's very important to understand, but it's important to understand also, premium can be a huge difference. Just yesterday, we had a client that had gotten a quote for almost $4,000 who was in a newly mapped rate area. However, that newly mapped rate really was supposed to be about $483 for the first 12 months. So that's kind of how FEMA works with their two options. So let's talk about private flood insurance. Now, private flood insurance can be very beneficial, especially in the San Diego area because of the high values of homes. Remember, the National Flood Insurance Program only offers residential coverage up to $250,000 on a building. Well, with private, you can get up to $10 million. And so maybe you don't want $250,000. Maybe you want $800,000. This is where private market can be very beneficial. Also, they offer lower rates many times. They offer additional living expenses, replacement cost and contents. These are all some things you can get through the private market. Now let's talk about what's called a letter of map amendment or a flood zone change. And maybe you do qualify for this. Before we get started on that though, remember on loan types, if you've got an FHA loan, you do have to go through the National Flood Insurance Program. But if you've got conventional, USDA, or VA, then you can go through the private market. So let's talk about that letter of map amendment. This is when FEMA says you're in one flood zone, but you're actually in a different one, and we use some documentation to show them this, like an elevation certificate done by a surveyor or engineer that shows that you are above the base flood elevation, that your lowest adjacent grade is above the base flood elevation, that you haven't had any flood insurance claims. These are all things that could qualify you to get your property removed from the mandatory flood zone to the non-mandatory, which also gives you cheaper flood insurance rates. So these are the three options you have when it comes to San Diego County and these flood map changes that are coming December 2019. So if you've got questions about these changes or questions about flood insurance in general or lowering the risk on your property, then please visit our website, floodinsuranceguru.com. Go to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, The Flood Insurance Guru, where we do these daily flood education videos. You can also give us a call, 205-451-4294. Remember, we have an educational background in flood mitigation, which means we can help you understand flood risks like this one right here, your flood insurance, and mitigate your property long term to help you minimize flood losses and flood premiums. Thank you.